In the first two videos, we saw how to use context to create simple drum patterns as well as melodies. In this video, we're going to look at what happens when you have two or more contexts open in the same patch and how you can form a relationship between them. Before we look at that, I'd like you to notice that both of these contexts are still sending their data to this object receiveContext dash, which in turn is splitting the data between bangs and numbers. There are better ways of connecting individual contexts to specific instruments, and we'll look at that way when we get to the videos on ID. Now, to form a relationship between these two contexts, we're going to have to use the inlets and the outlets. So what are inlets and outlets in context? Well, every outlet is attached to an individual toggle along the x-axis. And just as you might imagine, that outlet is going to send a bang exactly when that toggle fires. Fairly intuitive. Now, inlets, on the other hand, have no distinction at all. Every inlet on every context is basically the same. And any time an inlet receives a bang message, it's going to start that particular context. So as you can see here, we formed a relationship. Whenever this third toggle fires on context C1, it's going to start context C2 here. Fairly easy. As you can imagine, these bangs aren't necessary at all. I just had them there to illustrate the point. It's very easy just to connect the two contexts. And there you have it. This is the basic idea of a context network, where you have several contexts connected together in some form or other to form a series of relationships. It's more interesting when we have more than two contexts. Here are a couple more that I've prepared. One more melody and one more drum. Now, I'm just going to change the time duration here to 4 instead of 2. If I start connecting these together, I'm going to get some interesting little melodies. Now what's happening here is that it's repeating. It's repeating because, as you can see, I've formed a loop. So whenever C1 finishes, C3 is going to start. Whenever C3 finishes, C1 is going to start. Okay, I've mentioned these ID numbers already. Every context open in a patch is going to have its own unique ID number. These ID numbers are used to form a different type of connection, which is called a toggle float connection. Instead of using a cable to connect, I can connect directly within the toggle itself. To do that, all I'm going to do is click on any toggle and scroll up. C1, 2, 3. Oh, I'll go back to 1, that's where I want to be. This is now the same as a cable connection, essentially. So the advantages of this are mostly just that it helps tidy up the canvas, because otherwise things can get very messy with cables. Here's another connection that I'll do here, C4. And one other fun thing you can do with these is you can move them left or right. All I did there was just click and hold down and scroll left or right, and sometimes you need to sort of close another toggle, but it's fairly easy. Now, I'm just going to stop that. One thing to watch out for with toggle floats is if you scroll up, you're going to get these connections. If you scroll down, you're going to get simple numbers which do not connect. We will look in a later video on the output language on what these toggle floats are. For the moment, all you need to remember is click and scroll up, and you will get the toggle connections that you're looking for. That's how to use context to create simple context networks. As you can imagine, there's no limit to the number of contexts that you can put in a network. So just with this information in these 3 videos, you can already have a lot of fun making fun little melodies and networks.